Hi, and welcome. This is Eden Gordon Hill, and I am with Defenders Live, and I have such an amazing honor and privilege to welcome a friend from Sarasota County, Florida. I am a lover of Florida, and I wanted to introduce you to Bridget Ziegler. She is a candidate for Sarasota County School Board. Bridget, thank you for being with us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Well, first and foremost, we have a lot in common. I was a candidate for the primaries here in North Carolina. You are a candidate for the primaries in Sarasota County, Florida. We also are two very powerful conservative women, and we also live in a red area. But I will tell you, being in the great state of North Carolina, I don't have the privilege to have an amazing freedom loving governor like you do.
We are
And
very blessed.
yes, you are. I'm not jealous or anything. But I wanted to talk with you a couple of things this morning. First and foremost, why Sarasota County School Board? Why are you running? And talk to me about everything that you've already accomplished, because I already know, but talk to our audience about everything that you've accomplished.
Well, thank you again for covering this. I may be biased, but I would challenge it all day long. Arguably, I think school board elections are the most important thing for the future of our communities, our country, our children. So I am the mother of three beautiful daughters between the ages of 3 and 8. I actually I work in the private sector with risk consulting and have been on the board. This is actually I'm running for a third term, which I never thought I would. I'm a very vocal conservative. I believe in individual liberties and limited government, and I understand the role as an elected official on a school board is to serve the public, to be an oversight board with the mission of high quality academic excellence. And that is the actual mission of an elected school board member. And I started in 2014, jumped off a ledge, I have a strong faith, and I believe God opened a door, and I walked through it, and I'm glad I did. I'm incredibly passionate about this. But I had an 8-month-old at the time. And so for any parent, you know that your whole life changes and how you look at the world as soon as you become a parent. You can't explain it to anyone who hasn't experienced that. And it is indeed the most wonderful blessing that we all can have as parents. And so we know, and I also knew government took a while to work. So education is key for the future of my children, but not just them, it's their generation and the future, as I said, of our community and our country. So I am on the board of 5. We live in a pretty conservative area in Sarasota County. However, like many boards across the country, and it's oftentimes because they are nonpartisan races that the public doesn't really have a good opportunity to really understand their political philosophies. So my board is a majority liberal board and has been for the end of time until August 23rd. But to me, it's just, there's such a distraction, and we're seeing it worse and worse in and particularly the last 3 or 4 years.
Right.
I saw the antics that many parents across the country saw after COVID.
Right.
That
Right.
kind of disdain, that's been there for a really long time. What has gotten more aggressive is the social agendas that are incredibly alarming. And
Yes.
again, I go back to, what is our job? What is our mission as a public education institution with diverse backgrounds, cultural, religious beliefs, etc.? We celebrate them, but we can't deny people those rights. And so, huge champion of parental rights, worked really hard in the state of Florida to pass that legislation. The first one, which is the Parents' Bill of Rights.
Right.
And so that's a lot about me. I mean, it could go on, but those are the key things. And I just believe
Sure.
that this is paramount, and we're at a pivotal time in our country's future.
Well, let's talk about the upcoming campaign. So, at the end of the day, you and I both know what it is to run a campaign, being women, conservatives, and being up against rhinos, Republicans in name only, being up the big media. And I know Sarasota media is not gracious to you guys whatsoever. And at the end of the day, we're looking at 2022 elections right around the corner. And in fact, who are we really putting in there? And I've worked with some of the powerful women in Loudoun County and Fairfax County back as they were fighting CRT last year. And also at the forefront, fighting CRT in our backyards, where there's a disconnect between the Board of Elections, the Board of Education, the local leaders, the state leaders, and then also there's the disconnect where you talk to parents. I door knocked 125 miles of this great area. The parents told me one thing, Board of Education, local officials said completely different.
Yep.
Disconnect is there, but the thing is, candidates like you, we need more of to fight the Republicans in name only, to fight the big media, to fight, do I dare say, the old boys club?
The establishment.
Exactly, exactly. So what has been your strategy and where can we pull in support for you?
Well, there's so many good questions there. And I would say, and I use the word establishment because what I've found is that, particularly in this moment where parents of all political persuasions were aghast after the veil was lifted and what they saw during COVID. And then were met with the disdain with their public servants, which were anything but, they're self-serving. They're not public servants, and at least the way they illustrate themselves. And so my goal is that, listen, the media is not on our favor when it comes to being a conservative, and especially an outspoken one. They are terrified of the grassroots momentum that's happening right now. So they're doing everything in their power to belittle organizations or try to make them sound like extremist groups when they're actually true grassroots, hardworking moms and dads and concerned citizens. And we're doing it, and we're in the fight for our children's future. And that's it. And so that doesn't exclusively make it for Republicans or Democrats. I think that tent has changed in a completely different way. But the underlying aspect is the role of government. And I think that's the piece where people said, wait, I don't want the government making decisions for me about my children. And you see the aggressive, progressive agenda is being pushed down using terms like birthing people.
Right.
I mean, so as a woman, as a mother, and it's a blessing, but that mama bear comes out in you, and it's true. And so I think that this is the opportunity that we have needed for decades. It's unfortunate it took a pandemic, but it woke us up, and it's high time because we are at a very critical tipping point. And so you asked a question, really, I think the way to win this is living room to living room, neighborhood to neighborhood. Stop relying on the clickbait. Certainly there's a way. I mean, you have to have targeted aspects when you're in a campaign, but you also need to go beyond those headlines and build those communities back up, because people do care. We just need to get past the rhetoric.
Yes, exactly. So let me ask you this. I'm hearing through the grapevine that the other candidates running for this seat aren't even parents or are retirees. Did I get that correct?
Yeah. So I look at this two different ways. So I'm a huge vocal supporter of parental rights. So my opponent, you could not get anyone more different than me and my philosophy, what I stand for, what my perspectives are. I don't know what her journey is, so I'm never going to attack anyone for that. But the perspective fact is that I have children, and I know that she does not. But and she's attacking me for things that are really illustrate that perspective isn't in her lion's eye, because she doesn't understand the weight of the decisions that we as parents across the entire country had to make. When it came to what the best learning environment was during COVID, based on some of these draconian policies that school boards were pushing forward. And, an 8-year-old rising first grader, that's a key developmental stage. But to attack me for the choice that my husband and I had to make, and a difficult one, just underscores it's more of the same of I know better, you don't, even though when it comes, we're talking about our own children. And I will always defend every parent's right to make those decisions and allow them to be informed, even if it's different than what I believe is right for my child, because that is what it's all about, ensuring parents are in the driver's seat.
Right, right. All right, let me also talk to you. I noticed on your website, and it's bridgetziegler.com for our audience. Governor DeSantis did a great endorsement for you, along with an amazing tweet and things of that nature. Tell me how that transpired, and kind of give me a little background before even he was governor. It looks like you had some other work under the other governor at that time period. How did that all transpire?
It's interesting. My husband had been involved in politics, and so that part, I think, when it came down to my first run in 2014, I met with Governor Rick Scott at the time, and built a strong relationship with the local legislatures. I think it's so key to anyone who's looking at running for school board.
Right.
So you need to understand the dynamics of the local school board and how the state legislature plays. Mostly it's all at the state level and the local level. And so building, solution-oriented partnerships was really my goal in order to really serve my community. That is kind of taboo because, again, we had a Republican-led legislature and still have the liberal majority board. They would just take every opportunity to, cast stones and very political. So I instead said, listen, I only have so much time here. I'm going to work hard for our families and for this community. And so over time, built strong relationships. And I think it was helpful to them because they had someone from the local level, not yelling at them, but actually working with them to better serve our community. And I think that just kind of grew from there. And when Governor DeSantis did this shout out, I was I was shocked and honored because I could not be more proud to live in Florida. He has been a just incredible leader. So many topics that a lot of elected officials would shy away from, he took on head on with gusto. And he proved every single corporate media talking head wrong. And we need that leadership. That's what we need.
Yes, exactly. All right, let me ask you a couple of things from a parental standpoint. As you are out there canvassing from living room to living room, what are the top 3 things that you would encourage parents around the nation, from Maine all the way down to Florida and across to California, because so many of them are seeking freedom? And I always say the further south you get, the more free you become. And I'm at the very top of the South in North Carolina. Yes, we have Youngkin right above us, but we have an empty suit in our Raleigh state capitol. So as an advocate, I am not a mother, but I am a mentor. As an advocate for our next generation, who could be the greatest generation, is what I say. Yeah. What do we tell our parents who are seeking just to get by day to day?
Oh, and trust me, I get that. I always say, listen, if I wasn't on the school board, I probably wouldn't know what their names were. I'm lucky if I get my kids out of the door on time, dressed properly. I get that life. So I think parents just need to understand, and I know they're worried, and I get that, and it's almost hard to say, whether you don't need to put financial money in play, because yes, it helps candidates, but so does sweat equity and involving yourself, making phone calls, knocking on doors, sharing emails, just talking to people in the grocery store. But the biggest part is, in my mind, that we have an opportunity. And again, this goes across party lines. People are fed up with the exploitation of our children. I mean that very seriously. You have a captive audience, and impressionable minds. And we want and pay into a system that's supposed to be educating our children to be free thinkers, critical thinkers, and to have the foundational skills to be successful citizens. And instead, they're using that time to push political agendas that are toxic, that I know many people of all, again, political persuasions do not support. So I think you need to get out there, and I am always available. Like I said, you can find me on Facebook, or you message me here. You can go to my website at bridgetziegler.com, or find me on Twitter. I'm happy to help anyone across the state and the country in this space, because I've been doing it for a while. I haven't drank the Kool-Aid. I've stayed strong. I have skin like leather, and we need every single person to step up. Even if you're in a minority position, there's a lot of work that you can do that will help your community and help your students and children and the future of your community.
I have there below us, every child deserves access to a world-class education, and to graduate high school well prepared for success in college, trade school, the military, or the workforce. And I pulled that from your website. I thought that was very powerful, as you are pursuing the best for your children, for the next generation. And, at the end of the day, we have almost one of the greatest fights of our lives, being faith in the public square, keeping our nation one nation under God, and making sure that prayer is put back in the schools, making sure that God is still relevant. Because like you said at the very beginning, faith is so important to you on this journey. And we do have, at that moment, for such a time as this,
yes,
we have that Esther moment.
I was reading Esther last night. Yes, exactly. I mean, it's true.
That's exactly it. So at the end of the day, we need to keep focused on that, reminded of that, encouraging the living room to living room conversations of that, encouraging the parents, the mentors, the grandparents, the moms, the dads, the single moms, the single fathers. Tell me this as we are coming down to or about a 5-minute mark, and I do not want to end this conversation, so we will definitely have you back to Defenders Live. How's the polls looking for you right now? And who are some of the biggest groups you have supporting you?
So I'm not a big poll person. I think someone's doing one. I haven't seen it. I feel the energy. Like I said, I got home last night at midnight. You wake up at 5 in the morning, go through your list, do your calls. I mean, you've got to hustle. And I mean, I'm in it to win it because I believe in this. I'm so passionate about it. My kids participate in it. But I think to me, if it's great, I think what's so important is the headlines are in this aspect where they're really trying to, again, sensationalize and fearmonger.
Mhm.
And that's always the way they're going to be. And why are they doing it? Because they want to maintain control and of our children and young impressionable minds. And so again, I tell you that when you talk to people everywhere, neighborhood to neighborhood, I think it just helps our community. We're so polarized now, and there's so many things that we actually agree with. And they all, once they realize what's actually happening, the truth, we can join together. So I feel really good. I think as long as people don't believe everything that they read in the corporate media, because they want to scare you into voting into the same that we've had for years and decades. And I will not stand for that. So.
Right. Well, Bridget Ziegler for Sarasota County School Board, go to bridgetziegler.com. We would love to support you any way we can. We are so grateful to have the great state of Florida joining us on Defenders Live, and we look forward to having you back. Many blessings to you, and take back America.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.